Okay, welcome back to the next part of the video. In the last video, we had a catastrophic failure while doing our deorbit and re-entry, so we're just gonna start over immediately and try that again. I know exactly what went wrong, so we're not going to spend a lot of time here re-explaining everything that I went through before. We're just going to go through the process. That way we can get back to where we were before and hopefully complete the flight this time. So let's just do exactly what we did before. Bring up base sync, target Cape Canaveral. This helps if you spell it right. And we're going to warp time forward to get over to the point where this orbit is 1 away from our current location. So we'll do that at 1000x. And we're using 1000x instead of 10,000 because I found that in these situations it's just really easy to overshoot. So we're just going to be patient here and use 1000. And we're almost at that point, so we're coming down to 100. And now 10. And we're there. So let's turn off external cooling. And there's no hotkey, so we have to use the cockpit view for that. Now we'll undock.
Undocking confirmed. Rotation translation.
And as before, we'll put in just a little bit of translation. That'll push us sort of down away from the ISS. And then we'll, let's see, I think it's Alt-A to turn on the APU. No, it's Control-A. And then Control-K to close the nose cone. And then once that's closed, we'll turn the APU back off. Actually, I'm going to close the retro doors too because we're not going to use them. Okay, APU off. Back over to this view. And we're going to get over to this point. And I'll do a little bit of base alignment. So we want to switch from equator to direct. And once we get relatively close like that, we can go to the anti-normal position because that's what this line indicates. PLC, that's plane change. And it indicates here minus, so that's the direction we want to go. And as I explained before, we've got a 12-second burn here, so we need to use the full power of the main engines for 12 seconds, and we would do that when the time to node is 6 seconds. That way we have half the burn on one side of the node and half the burn on the other side of the node. But if we use the full power of the main engines, it will raise our apoapsis, so we're just going to use about a quarter power. And since we're only going to use a quarter power, we're going to start the burn like at 20 seconds instead of 6. Just warping time forward here at 10, get this down faster. And we're pretty close to that point. Let's go ahead and apply some main engine. And we'll just go with that. Whatever that is, maybe 15%. You can see it's still having some small impact on our apoapsis because the autopilot is not able to hold perfectly at anti-normal. But it's a lot better than if we just use the full power of the main engines. You would see the apoapsis going way up. And we don't want that because that just means we have to come that much farther down. And we can go 1 orbit. And we balanced that out pretty well. We started at 20 seconds before. And it looks like we could have started at maybe 30 seconds before. And I'm just going to see what happens if I go to 5 kilometers, because if you remember, when we get over to that point, it's going to have an impact on our distance, but I don't know which direction. So let's just try that. Okay, target Cape Canaveral again, because Basync has an irritating habit of continually forgetting. Now let's go over to the halfway point. And we're almost there. We are there. So now we'll go retrograde. And we're going to bring down this side of the orbit. But again, we're not going to bring it all the way down to, 20 kilometers of the surface. We're going to just bring it down to about 130. Okay, main engines. Yeah, see, it looks like we went the wrong way. I should have left the distance on the other side, but that's okay. Oops, a little further than I meant to go, but that'll be alright. And now we will come around to this point and do a little bit more correction with the off base distance. Again, it's not necessary. We do have the ability to glide this much, but since we're going to cross that point anyway, might as well take advantage of it. And using the translation thrusters isn't quite as fast as I thought it was, so we'll go ahead and go to the anti-normal position and use the main engines. And we can come all the way down to we're just at 5 seconds or so. We'll go with that. Okay, that has our distance down to a couple of kilometers. That's good enough. Now we are going to warp time forward until we are at, and the last time I tried this I went to 3,500 kilometers, but it seems like that's not going to quite be good enough because we're still pretty high up. So this time I'm going to try 5,000 kilometers, but I'm also going to use the full power of the main engines because the retro engines were slowing us down too slowly. Okay, matter of fact, let's get into the retrograde position now so we're already facing the right way when we do get to that point. And now we'll bring up aero brake on this side, switch over to this mode, and target Cape Canaveral. And now let's warp time forward till we're at 5,000 kilometers. Okay, let's go with that. And now we'll use the main engines. You can see how much faster that is. Okay, there we have it. Now we'll go prograde. And when we get down to entry interface here in just 50 more kilometers, we can engage the attitude hold autopilot and then glide down to the base. I'm going to go ahead and switch over to this view now.
Rotation.
Okay, now we'll warp time forward to entry interface. Actually, we'll go all the way down to like 100 kilometers.
Mach 27 plus.
The atmosphere doesn't really start to kick in until you get down to like 89 kilometers.
Translation. Rotation.
So now let's get ready to engage the autopilot. Switch over to AOA. And I'm going to start with just 45 degrees. And I'll adjust from there. Engage. Close the radiator while I'm thinking about it. Dynamic pressure will start to increase here in a bit. So 45 degrees isn't going to be... maybe it will. Yeah, looks like it should be sufficient. Might want to go 45.5. I'll leave it there for now because if it's a little bit past the base, it just means we're going to get there faster. And we can do a little bit more braking once we get closer if need be. Off base distance is fine. We should be good to go there. So let's bring up glide slope and FD, which I actually probably should have brought up sooner because then I could have recorded this re-entry, but I didn't think about it. And I like this view. And I'm going to turn the hack to open. And I'm going to switch units. Okay, we're on kilometers already. Alright, that's fine.
Mach 26.
Alright, we should be all set. We have a vertical speed that's reasonable this time. It's not 500 meters per second. Keep an eye on the hull temperature. Once we get down to 50, 59, 58 kilometers, the heat really starts to... You reach peak heating somewhere around that point.
Mach 25.
But our vertical speed is already decreasing slightly, so we should be fine.
Mach 24. Mach 23.
This is around the time when you really start hitting the hot spot.
Mach 22. Information. APU fuel 90%. Translation. Rotation.
Putting in just a little bit of bank, because I can see that I'm coming up to the right side of the base a little bit. And you can also see here with our degrees, we're 1.9 off, so I'm just going to put in some bank
20.
to start compensating for that now. We're getting very hot.
Mach 19.
Pretty much redlining the vessel. But it's going to be okay. I'm going to start cooling off here in just a moment.
Mach 18.
But that is about as hot as it can get without exploding, so we definitely didn't want to wait any longer to start that braking burn.
Mach 17.
And And we're almost there already.
Mach 60.
Right there's the coast.
Mach 15. Mach 14.
I don't need to worry about temperature anymore. Zero out my bank. Looks like it might actually be coming in to the left side. I thought it was coming in to the right.
Mach 13.
Yeah, it's left.
Mach 12. Mach
And we're just
11.
250 kilometers out. So there's the runway right there. We may actually have to go out and around and come back the other way.
Mach 10. Mach 9. Mach 8. Mach 7.
And we're passing over top of the runway.
Information. APU 6, 80%. On.
Surface controls on.
Mach 5. Mach 4.
And now we'll disengage and
Mach 3.
take care of the final landing part here.
Off.
And landing requires a lot of concentration, so I won't really be able to commentate too much here.
Mach 2.
And it's been a long time since I've landed. It's probably been 3 months. So hopefully we'll get it on the first try. So I've got the runway in front of me. The lights just came into view, so we can see now much better where we're going. And I can tell I'm off to the left, so I'm
Subsonic.
kind of pointing the velocity vector
Information.
to the
APU
buildings over to the right of the runway,
70%.
just to get myself more lined up. You know, I want to get over to the right some more. And I'm starting to pull up just a little bit because my altitude's only at 6 kilometers at this point, and I'm still, 28 kilometers out from the runway. Although I find that landing the XR2 is pretty easy. It's compared to the space shuttle. And I think it's even a little bit easier than the standard Delta glider. But that might just be from experience. I have a lot more experience with the XR2. I find that it tends to glide a lot more than the standard Delta glider. With the standard Delta glider, I kind of get up to the runway really well, and then I just fall out of the sky. Because it just doesn't glide at all. It just
3,000.
lands like a brick. But the XR2 has a lot more glide. Yeah, things are looking pretty good here. We should be fine.
2,000.
So I feel like I'm in front of the runway now, basically. So I'm going to start kind of banking back to the
You
left.
are cleared to land.
And we're a little fast for the landing gear. That's not what I meant to do.
And
the air brake. I just want to lose a little bit of velocity.
800.
It's going to say that's good enough.
700.
Now I'll throw down the landing gear.
600. 500. Gear down and lock.
Actually, I feel like I put the landing gear down a little too soon.
400. 300.
Still a little off to the left.
200. 100.
Yeah, we just got to watch our vertical
75.
speed, make sure we don't slam the runway.
50. 30. 20. 15. 10. 7. 4. 2. Wheels down.
And there it is. Touchdown at 2 meters per second. Pretty well centered. I think I was a little off to the left. And we'll have wheel stop here in just a moment.
Information. APU fuel 60%. Wheel stop.
Okay, there's wheel stop. Let's turn off the APU. And turn on external cooling.
External O2.
Alright, so that's going to wrap it up.
External cooling online.
That's the completion of this whole mission. We started off at KSC on this runway, in fact, in this direction, in fact. And we took off and made a whole round trip to the moon and back, and stopped at the ISS twice, to and from. The whole mission took 17 days, 7 hours, and about 17 days, 8 hours. And it actually took me like 2.5 months to record it, because I took a very long break in between. But we finally got it all completed. So if you liked this mission, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And hopefully you learned a few things. I know I did while making this series. I'm always learning new things, even when I repeat simple things like going to the ISS or going to the moon, which are things I've done so many times. But I find with Orbiter, every time I do something, even if it's almost an exact replica of what I did before, there's still something slightly different that makes me learn something new. So even if you've seen a lot of trips to the moon, a lot of trips to the ISS, I think that there's always something to be learned in making the mission again and watching different videos, especially when you incorporate slight variations like I did here with the configuration with the XR2 being, radically different than the default configuration, and then having the off-plane transfers in both directions. I think those additional things just really help, learn new skills and everything. But I will leave it at that. Leave a comment down below, and I will see you in the next video, whenever that's going to be. I have no idea.